everybody. Welcome back to BS of the Week. It's been a long break, a couple months. We had a lot of unforeseen circumstances, real life things happen, and they happen. So I'm Patrick Driggett, coach of the Berlin Fire, and I am back with my host.
Hi, I'm Kevin Lucy from the Glasgow Rushmores. It's nice to be back, Patrick.
Yeah, it's been it's nice to see. I know we both had our own things happening in our lives, and but we always intended to come back and do this. And I know we had some plans. Do you want to talk about any of our plans with the guests and the format and things like that?
Yeah, obviously for those more observant amongst you, you might notice there's one person missing. Our hostess, Tad, has had to leave us for Pastors New. So what Patrick and I are planning on what Patrick and I are planning on doing is we're planning on getting some guests on. So there will usually be three of us. What we're probably going to do is have Patrick and myself plus another. As you all know, I wrote to every one of you. I had some great responses. Thanks, guys. And I've had some lovely offers of people wanting to appear on the show. So we're going to put you to your word, as it were, get you on the show. So expect some emails flying back from me fairly shortly. So that's basically what we're going to do. We've had a few suggestions as well as the format, but we're going to play that a little bit by ear. And certainly this show is not going to be, this episode here is not going to be the normal. And I'll hand you back to Patrick to tell us what we're going to do.
Yeah, so we're in right before week one, exciting time. I've been enjoying getting my coaching points on my people. I don't think it's any mystery that I've used all 200 CPs and possibly even overpaid for a couple coaches to make sure that I'm getting more pups because I really want to challenge with fire. But ultimately, I think Kevin and I discussed it, and preseason games, people treat it with a lot of different strategies, but most of those are that they're not real results. People are doing their own thing there for their different reasons. But for that reason, what we'd like to do is with the upcoming week one games, we're going to talk about the predictions for the division winners. So we'd like to discuss the divisions. We've broken it up. Kev's going to talk about the LFC. I'm going to talk about the PFC. Without further ado, Kev, why don't you talk about the LFC and what you think is going to happen there in the divisions in terms of who the leaders are?
Yep, certainly. Thanks, Patrick. Yeah, I mean, obviously, welcome to everyone. We've got quite a few new people, hopefully watching, hopefully taking part in this. So as we go through the divisions, we'll give a shout out to the newbies, as it were, and those not so newbies that are returning. So let's start with the LFC. Let's have a look at the East. Patrick, your own division here. This is probably, in my opinion, it's one of the strongest divisions in the LFC, I reckon. We've got the Statesmen, who finished last season on 10-0. We've got Phoenix, who finished on 9-1. Yourselves, the Fire, and also Sam's Sun Devils, both on 3-7. It's one heck of a difficult division to actually. It's a tough division. It's tough in a lot of ways. It's tough basically because there's some good teams in it. It's tough because three of you run the ball and nobody throws the ball in the bloody air. So you're bashing each other about quite a bit. There's only Sam that actually puts the ball in the air a little bit. Everyone else pounds the ground. And it's a tough old division because not only that, but you've got the number one defense and the number 3 defense in the whole of Big Sky. So nobody's giving you anything. So it's going to be a tough one. Again, for yourself and for Sam with the Sun Devils, 3-7 last year. I think you both will improve, but unfortunately, improving in your division is probably something like 4-6 or even 5-5. Chris, before he left us to go to Pastures New in the Atlantic, had built up one hell of a strong team with the Phoenix, and they looked as if they were going to challenge in a big way. I should imagine Lee would have mixed feelings about Chris moving away because that was a big challenge for him. Ian, we'd like to welcome you into the Big Sky. You have one hell of a task there. You've taken over a great team. My suggestion to you would be don't worry too much this season about trying to beat the statesman. I think you should just basically enjoy the game, get to learn the game. Speak to Ken, who was the caretaker coach, did a fantastic job whilst Chris was away, and see if he can give you some pointers. So because of that, I basically reckon that Lee is going to win the division. He's certainly going for it anyway, because he's given away his first, second, third round picks for not just next year's draft, but the year after as well. And in fact, he had something like 15 picks in this draft. And he's got 20% of his current roster are all absolute rookies.
Yeah,
so
he has a very young roster right now, for sure.
Yeah, but he's kept his tried and tested sort of players in there. So Lee is certainly going for it over the next a couple of seasons, 2-3 seasons. He's going to be there or thereabouts. As I say, he's got the third best defense in the whole of Big Sky. If he can keep his two running backs, Core and Patrick, fit, then he's got a good chance. And he also needs a little bit more, I think, from his wide receiver, Sathad, I think it is. But if he does that, then I reckon that Lee could be returning to the bowl again. So that's my prediction for the LFC East. Moving on to the LFC North, where we've got the Hornets finished 8-2 last year. Myself, the Rushmores 4-6, along with Patriots 4-6, and Tad's 66ers finished 1-9. So welcome to the league, Craig. You've got some task there. Anyone who tries to pick up from a Hastings has really got a task, and you have our sympathy there. But yeah, welcome to the league. Enjoy it. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you've wanted to hate somebody, where you've had a sort of rival and you thought, I really don't want to like them. Well, that happened to me. And then I went to the live draft this year, and guess who I met? Colin Andrew. And Colin and Peter and myself had a great time there. And it's one of these things where you really want to dislike them, but he's one of the nicest guys you could ever meet. And the fact that he's your rival just doesn't help at all, mate. So thoroughly enjoyed myself there with Peter and Colin. Basically, when I saw the age of Colin's players, because historically it's been a bit of a battle between the Hornets and the Rushmores. Craig's in first season, so he'll be learning the game, hopefully. And Steve is never far away. That'll be a bit of a battle between Steve and I. But again, I looked at Colin's roster and I thought, thank goodness for that. Calgary is now 9 years old. Mm-hmm. And Tripson is now 8 years old. So you're going, thank heavens, we won't have the Calgary Tripson rubbish anymore. And then, of course, I looked at the preseason game. And Calgary threw for 88% completion for a total of 608 yards. Tripson did 306 yards in receptions. And just in case we missed him out, their wide receiver Watson did 172 yards. So you think, oh, here we go again. So it doesn't look as if Calgary and Tripson are quite finished as yet. And then when I looked at his squad in even more detail, I saw that Colin is actually training up two more Calgarys and Tripsons. He's got a quarterback called Ipney, who is the exact spitting image of Calgary. And then in his development squad, he's got Escobar, who is another running back, who, again, looks as if he's going to be another Tripson, because guess what? He's a receiving running back. How Colin does it, I do not know, receiving running backs. And the other thing is, if you actually take a look at Colin's squad, he's probably one of the only managers, or only coaches rather, that doesn't have a single tight end on his roster. Not one tight end on his roster. So unfortunately, I would love to say that it would be the Rushmores that would be winning the division, but I think this time the Tripson Calgary combination is going to beat me again. All right, sorry, yeah. Okay, so looking at the South. Okay, LFC South. Rhinos 5-5 were the division winners last year, and the Knights 3-7, Weasels 3-7, and the Shadows 2-8. As you can see, to win a division with 5-5, this is probably, no disrespect to any of the players there, but it's probably one of the weaker divisions in the LFC. And as such, wins outside of the division are fairly rare, or not rare, but they're fairly uncommon. So the big emphasis here is on winning your interdivisional rivalries, because basically, if you do that, you should take the divisional championship. And because of that, I got a feeling that, according to the training camp report, the Knights seem to have improved quite a bit, and they're looking much stronger than the Rhinos, which is a bit of a surprise to me. So really, this one I think is very, very difficult to predict. With the Shadows, I think the Shadows basically weren't being managed by Joe, and we've now got a tech caretaker manager, Bill Bushby. Well, welcome, Bill, to the big sky. I'm sure that's going to help and improve the Shadows quite a bit. Peter with the Weasels been working hard on it, so I think this is going to be a very, very, very tight division. And to be quite honest, it's going to be very difficult to pick a winner. I'll probably stick with the Rhinos, but it's a bit of a toss of a coin, this one. So watch this space, as it were. Okay. And then finally in the LFC on the West, we've got the Sharks 9-1 last season against the Massive 6-4, the Irish 4-6, and the Buccaneers 2-8. Most of us know the Bucks were rebuilding. They've had 4 or 5 very good seasons, and then they're now rebuilding. And I think one season is not enough really to see a massive turnaround there. So I think that Adrian's going to need a few more seasons there, or another season at least, to get his team competitive. The Irish surprised me when I looked at Ray's squad. He has some of the oldest squad players in there. He actually has, believe it or not, 10 players who are over, they're either 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, or 13 years old. That's wow. 10 players. And I was like, oh my goodness.
That's insane.
So yes, there's some experience there, but I was a bit shocked at that, I have to be honest. So it'll be interesting to see how they perform, because he's certainly got the experience there. That leaves really, in my mind, Martin to take on Ben for the top spot. And I have a feeling here that Ben's going to win out again. Ben has spent quite a few seasons building up his squad, and I've got a feeling that he's basically going to take the division again. Certainly, again, a bit like Lee, Ben has thrown the kitchen sink at this. Again, if you look at what draft picks he's got for next season, he's got a pick 1 and a pick 8, and that's it. He's traded every other pick. So he's sort of thrown the kitchen sink at it. He got 11 rookies this season. So 11 picks, and 8 of them are sitting in his roster right now. So again, Ben's put his hat in the ring, basically. And I do believe that he will win out the division. So those, Patrick, are my predictions for the LFC. Wildcard places, I'm hoping to sneak a wildcard place. Don't know if you are hoping to sneak a wildcard place, and there'll be a couple of others in there. But it's going to be a tight one. So over to you for the PFC.
Yeah, on the LFC, I think those are some great predictions. I'm actually very excited that we're starting to get some big pushes from LFC teams, and with an aging Rivets, I think I don't know that this is the year. I can't know that. I obviously hope it is, but what I like to say though is things are on track. Like, I think if you even look over the last couple seasons, as we've started to have more content and things like that, I think there's some really strong long-term coaches that are building strong teams, and I hope that bodes well for the future of the LFC. We won the Pro Bowl, I think, not on for any good reason, but I think that there's some real strong teams. I think Colin, I think, Ben, really, Lee, and the Phoenix. Unfortunately, I think the Phoenix are probably going to take a slight downturn from their peak, and and not for any disrespect. I think it's a game you have to learn a lot of things, and so I think they'll still get a lot of wins just purely on stats alone. But it's hard to be a new coach in this league, but still I think that'll challenge a lot of us to do a lot of hard work there. And I'm excited about what that means for the LFC. If not in this season, next season for sure. So that's exciting. Obviously, I hope the Fire make a play. I don't think this is our year. I'm going to make a push, but I don't think we're going to be there next year. I'm excited about. Onto the PFC. So first we go to the PFC East, the Generals. Coach Humphreys has talked about his team really growing and some of his stars really getting to the level he wants them to be at in his latest blog. Honestly, I think, that's a very strong division. You have the Chargers and the Rapiers. Phil's really done a good job growing his team. Coach Weeks is really active community member, has a very strong team there. They have some great offenses, honestly. I mean, altogether they're over 200 points scored. And, I think Phil's done a great job. I've known him for a long time, and I think he's really been building something strong there too. And, I don't think his defense is quite there yet. And the Generals they have an amazing offense and they have a great defense. And so I think the Generals ultimately are going to clinch the division, but I think the Chargers and Rapiers are going to make a push this year. And I'm excited about that division. Unfortunately, I think someone's going to get left out there in the wild card, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I think they're very deserving teams there with the Generals in the lead of the PFC East. Out of the North, obviously the Rivets division, obviously in Conrad we trust, but they're an old team. You talk about old rosters. I think that Conrad, he knows what he's doing. He has great defense. His offense is, unparalleled. Does he make it through? I think he still wins the division, but I can guarantee you Coach Kramer's got something boiling up there. And I think that this could be the year that we, if Coach Kramer can't win with the Maroons, the division, I think this could be the year he takes a game off of the Rivets. And so we'll see. What do I know? But as they get older, you start running into injury issues, right? With your older players, there's things that can happen that, the odds say this might be that year that stuff starts to happen, and it kind of piles up. And so, is this the year they fall off? I don't think so. Is this the year that they kind of maybe give up a loss? It's possible for sure. I think this could be the year we see that. You still have to contend with special teams too, which is, I don't think anybody's got the formula figured out for that yet. So Rivets to win the PFC North, but I think Coach Kramer is going to have a strong challenge this year. In the South, I think the Eagles, it's just not a strong division, and I just don't see anything. Coach Hastings, was a caretaker coach. I don't see the Bulldogs really doing anything there. The Warriors, I know Coach Griffiths has really tried to push there and might see some improvement, but I just don't see anybody challenging the Eagles. And the Eagles really are a strong team in their own right. They're going to win all of their division games. And they're a great scoring team. They have a great point differential, but a lot of that is kind of, some of those stats are just from playing in that division and being the strongest by a long shot. I think they do win the division. I don't know how far they make it in the playoffs. And then,
can I throw something in
yeah,
there,
please.
Patrick?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Eagles at the moment got Phil Haggis coming in as a caretaker coach.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot depends on if we have a caretaker coach there for very long,
right?
And if it's a new coach coming in, as we've said already, it is one heck of a difficult game to pick up first season. So even if you've got a strong squad, putting a game plan together, etc., etc. So I'm not as confident. Again, very much depends on when the Eagles caretaker, when Phil passes the reins over. The other thing is that the Bulldogs have now got Miranda. Welcome, Miranda. Another one of the Hastings tribe. Miranda has played the game before, so I sort of expect she could be up there challenging.
That'll be an interesting thing to watch. I think that I'm always skeptical, especially since the brothers Hastings they really went on the keeping the record low to get good draft picks to rebuild. coming out of a rebuild, it's always hard to really challenge that first year. I mean, I'm hopeful. I always like seeing things. I like being wrong because that means, people are doing things out of expectations, and that's always fun. And I think, hopefully with Miranda's experience, that there is a big challenge there, especially against the caretaking of Coach Haggis. But also, I think the Eagles roster is strong enough that it'll be curious. But let's see. I hope that she really gives it a challenge. But still, I think I'm going to go with the Eagles on my prediction.
Also, welcome to Damien.
Yes,
taking over the Devils. That's not going to be an easy job either, mate.
Yeah, but you know what? You get to have some fun being top 10 drafter for a while. So that I don't know. It's always fun to get those like superstar players. So yeah.
True.
And
sorry about
no. Thank you for your input there. I think that'll be interesting. And then finally, we have the PFC West, last but not least. James Allen's Titans, strong team. Is this the year they beat the Ribbits? So I think between the Titans and the Maroons, I think that I have to imagine Conrad's feeling the pressure there after so many seasons, and with aging. I think Coach Allen will make a big play of it. It's a great scoring team. His defense needs some help. Hopefully, he's there. To put up a fight there, and not far behind them, you've got the Packers. It's a great team. They're always pushing, and so I think ultimately Coach Allen's Titans are going to win the division, but I think the Packers, have a chance, and so I look for them to play spoiler to that prediction. Excuse me, but ultimately for me, I think it's really, is this the year the Titans threaten the Rivets for at least a win, if not a playoff win? So, excuse me, hiccups. That's my predictions. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay, well done. And again, welcome, Don, to the Huskies. Enjoy the season there. We've got quite a few new people in, so it's exciting. We've got as a change of personnel, which is good. But those are good predictions. Can't really argue with any of those, Patrick. I think we would all, no disrespect, Conrad, but we'd all probably like to see the banana skin arrive at the Rivet's feet and at least lose a couple of games for us, Conrad. Make it interesting.
Yeah. No, it's exciting. I really hope we have an interesting season. That's what I'll say. I'd love to see some spoilers in here, and we make predictions because they're what we expect based off of what we see, and it's always exciting when people do things we don't expect. And I'm excited to be back with you. I know we're trying to arrange this for a couple weeks, and I'm glad that we're back filming this and gonna be uploading it this week. And I'm looking forward to week one. I hope, Kev, for you, I hope the Rushmores do well, and I'm excited to see how you do this year. And I'm excited about the Fire this year. And we'll see you next week.
Indeed. Nice to be back again. Patrick, thanks very much indeed, mate.
Yeah, no problem. Bye.
Bye, everyone.